Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call the regular Village Board meeting for July 20th, 2026 to order. Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call the roll.
Mayor Mullen?
Here.
Trustee Duffy is absent. Trustee Grau?
Here.
Trustee McGovern is absent. Trustee McQuillan?
Here.
Trustee Olson?
Here.
Trustee Sima?
Here.
Thank you very much. And at this point, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up tonight is a proclamation recognizing July 16th, 2026 as Stephen Green Day in the Village of Lisle. On July 16th, I attended the Lisle Community Band concert, and during intermission presented this proclamation to Mr. Green upon his retirement from the community band. I'm going to read it just into the record, because I think it's important to also recognize his dedication and achievement tonight here. Whereas one of the privileges of the office of the mayor is to recognize and honor the outstanding members of our community. And whereas today it was my pleasure to join with the past and present members of the Lisle Community Band in honoring Stephen Green on the occasion of his retirement as band conductor, a position he had held for 40 years. And whereas Mr. Green was director of bands at Lisle Senior High School from 1982 until he retired in 2011, and whereas he's a founding member of the Lisle Community Band. And whereas Lisle Community Band was founded in 1987 as a way for students to stay sharp over the summer and for parents, students who had graduated, and other community musicians to make music together. And whereas the Lisle Community Band is a non-for-profit organization with a purpose of providing high-quality musical performances for the residents and guests of the Village of Lisle. And whereas the Lisle Community Band provides an avenue of musical expression and continuous education for instrumentalists in the community and an opportunity for them to continue playing with a music ensemble. And whereas in 2026, the Lisle Community Band showcased their talents by performing 5 concerts under the direction of Mr. Green. And whereas Mr. Green conducted his last concert on July 16th. Now therefore be it proclaimed, I, Mayor Mary Jo Mullen, on behalf of the Village of Lisle Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim July 16th, 2026 as Stephen Green Day in the Village of Lisle, and I recognize him for being a remarkable person who has for 45 years given active performers, teachers, business professionals, retired individuals, and students, all with a shared passion for learning and performing, an opportunity to grow, develop, collaborate, and have fun with a music ensemble. And like I said, I presented that to him at the concert, and he was very excited about it. It was very sweet. That'll move us into public comment. If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please come up to the podium. The Village Code provides individuals up to 5 minutes per person. Please introduce yourself. Anyone who wishes to comment on regular agenda items may also do so at this time.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Chris Pisak for the record. I'm here tonight because just a little bit over 3.5 years ago, the board that I headed in the position that you are all in approved an agreement with Flock cameras for license plate reading technology, largely in response to the historic crime sprees of the city of Chicago infiltrating our western communities. I predicted at that time that the technology would become obsolete pretty quickly. I think that time has come, and I think it's time to decommission that system. Public sentiment in the technology has been lost. It's going to be difficult to try to recover. And for a while now, I've been trying to find avenues for public accountability for the system, what the system actually does, what the results are. When we first initiated it, there were periodic reports of success stories and things like that. I went so far as to try to FOIA myself to find my own record through Flock, and with no success. But recently, an interesting development that I think the board should be aware of, I want to make the board aware of, and ask for the boards, in addition to decommissioning the system, in the meantime, registering for a transparency portal that is already available to every Flock user. It is a challenge to find that portal. Once I've lost the link, it's difficult to get back into. Flock doesn't make it easy. They should make it easier, but there is a transparency portal. And as a for instance, what I'll present you with is the page for West Des Moines, Iowa Police Department. In a 30-day period, they recorded 512,514 unique license plates in 30 days in their community among their camera population, which I believe is about 20 cameras. Of those hits, 7,084 were hot hits. 287 investigations were launched due to those. Those are all reported in the transparency portal. They also list a complete list of every agency that they share data with. They don't go into details of the data sharing, but I do have the list downloaded. It's 40 pages long and nestled between Lincoln County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office and Livingston County, Illinois Sheriff's Office is, lo and behold, the Village of Lisle. Now, the Village of Lisle, when we passed this ordinance, was only to be shared for specific crime incidents, not a wholesale sharing. We don't know what Lisle shares, but we do know that West Des Moines, Iowa shares with Lisle, counts them as a sharing partner. There's 40 pages of shared partners in this report. So to that end, I think that that registering for this transparency portal would go a long way to restoring public trust. But I think all in all, Harvey, Illinois is another town that does report on the portal. Harvey, Illinois, just shy of the population of Lisle, has a similar amount of cameras to Lisle. Almost 750,000 unique license plates recorded on a 30-day rotating basis. And out of those, over 36%, over 250,000 license plates are hot hits. At that point, it just becomes background noise. That's one every minute for every camera, and one of those three is a hot hit. It's expanded beyond its scope. Its scope was to prevent crime. It's prevented crime in Lisle, and I call for the board to decommission the system. I appreciate it very much. I'll present this to the clerk for record. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Daniel. I'm an attorney that has been practicing for about 35 years in many institutional projects up to $1 billion in value, a range of religious, educational, up to lifestyle shopping centers. I'm proud to represent Kindy Academy, and I know a number of neighbors have beaten me to the punch at the village board. I tend to respect process until something arrives on your doorstep, and it has. Over the next meeting or two after this one, Kindy Academy is going to be before you, and it's an important project. At 2275 Cabot Drive, Kindy is attempting to convert nearly 100,000 square feet of the approaching 500,000 square feet of vacant office space in Corporate Lakes to a school. This is a private school that is designed and intended to serve kids from grade 4 through grade 12. Science laboratories, physics laboratories, some preliminary engineering laboratories, maker space in a modern school environment. Many of you know Kindy Academy. You've been to their fundraisers, or you've seen them on a prior agenda. Kindy had a rough go of it in Lisle when they came back. They had trouble getting their zoning entitlement for an existing school building on Middleton. And frankly, we set out to look for a new building that would be in an area that wasn't so residential in character, that wouldn't create a disruption or a change in the neighborhood like it would in a residential area. And they've had trouble in an office research area, even though towns like Lombard and others allow schools in those districts. Now, Kindy has a right to present its application to you. We've got a great collection of people. Some of the top engineers in the field. We've got a great architect who's previously converted office buildings into schools on projects that I've been involved in. As far as landscaping goes, we are updating the site and doing quite a bit. We ran into some opposition with the neighbors who ignored outreach so they could gather the proper facts. They committed to filing traffic studies. They committed to providing valuation information, none of which was provided during the hearing. My hope is that you'll accept some outreach over the next couple of weeks. I'd like you to be informed about the project, whether it's me or somebody on our team, or if you happen to see Hada Malaga from Kindy Academy, it would be great if you would learn about the project. It is a terrific reuse of a building. It will add facilities that are available on a cooperative basis with other entities in town, possibly a private soccer club, the park district if they need a field when one of theirs is being restored. They can use it, and certainly having some of our own facilities helps us avoid occupying time at existing facilities that we rent for our programs now. So my hope is that if you do get a call or an email, that you'll accept the invitation to talk about the project. It's as important for us to learn how you feel, if you have suggestions. If you're a supporter already, that's great, but we'd still like to hear how you feel. That, I think, is probably the most important aspect of the zoning process, is that collaboration between the village and the zoning applicant. And in a contested hearing situation, that can somewhat be lost when people misunderstand the purpose of soil samples. Those are for structural strength, yet somebody objected to not having soil testing done because there could be benzene or some contaminants in the soil. That's not why we do that. So in a process like that, you can sometimes lose sight of the collaboration that can be very valuable between the municipality and its zoning applicants. I look forward to being in front of you at one or both of the next two meetings. Kindy certainly appreciates the work that Mr. Smetana has done. Dan has been involved as well, and they appreciate that. If there is anything that you hear from neighbors, please feel free to invite them to reach me on my cell. That is 312-927-0177. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment?
Susan Srail. Tonight I'd like to begin with something that doesn't happen often, especially for me in public meetings, but I'd like to thank Mayor Mullen. Thank you for attending the Illinois Commerce Commission hearing on July 14th. Thank you for taking time to travel there. And thank you for speaking to the commission on behalf of Oakview residents and the many Illinois American families served by Illinois American Water. Whether we agree on every issue before this board or not, I believe it's important to acknowledge when our elected officials step forward and advocate for the people they represent. Your presence mattered, your testimony mattered, and I sincerely appreciate that you were there. That hearing, however, was much more than a proposed rate. It was about the reality of how families are living today. Throughout the hearing, residents from across Illinois stood before the commission and shared stories that were both heartbreaking and unacceptable. One resident testified that they no longer shower every day because they simply cannot afford the cost of water. Another explained that they do laundry every other week in an effort to keep their bill manageable. Another shared that they shampoo their hair only once a week because that is all they believe they can afford. Think about that. Not because there's a drought, not because there's an emergency, and not because water isn't available, but because people are afraid of what will arrive in their mailbox at the end of the month, just like the Oakview residents. That is not how people in 2026 should be living. No family should have to ration basic hygiene because of the cost of water. No senior citizen should have to decide whether they can afford to wash their clothes or not. No parent should have to tell their children when they can't take a shower because the water bill is too high. Water is not a luxury, it is not a privilege, it is a basic necessity for health, sanitation, and human dignity. Every percentage increase improved by the Illinois Commerce Commission has consequences far beyond a balance sheet. Beyond every utility bill is a family trying to make ends meet. Behind every rate increase is somebody deciding what they can no longer afford. As many of you know, I also spoke before the commission that evening. In addition to my testimony, I prepared and distributed packets of documents to the commission and the representatives of Illinois American and the media. These documents included historical records, court decisions, ownership information, and supporting materials regarding Oakview's water system. This evening, I will provide each member of this board with that same packet. I wanted each of you to have exactly what the ICC and IAW received. There should be no question about the information that was presented. My comments from the hearing are also included in your packet so you can review exactly what I said. I encourage each of you to read the material carefully. Whether you ultimately agree with every conclusion or not, I believe you'll find the questions being raised deserve thoughtful consideration. Oakview residents have spent years researching these issues. We've reviewed court records, we've searched county property records, we have filed FOIA requests, we've met with agencies, we've attended hearings. We've done this because we believe facts matter, documentation matters, and accountability matters. The ICC hearing reminded all of us that Oakview is not alone. Families across Illinois are struggling with the rising cost of water. They deserve affordable service. They deserve transparency. And they deserve to know that every level of government is willing to stand up and advocate for them. So once again, Mayor Mullen, thank you for attending the hearing and for representing our community. I hope this board will continue to engage in this conversation, continue reviewing the information provided this evening, and continue working towards solutions that are fair, transparent, and in their best interest for all Lisle residents. Thank you. And I have those packets so that I remain transparent with you about what everybody received. I'll give them to Mr. Cook.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Lisa Gibbs. I'm new to Lisle. I moved here in April. And I wanted to just tell a short story and give a huge thank you. Believe it or not, I'm not here to advocate for anything. But in May, I brought my 95-pound golden retriever home in the back seat of my car because she just had knee surgery. She was heavily medicated, and I pulled into the driveway, and my daughter and I could not move her because she was so medicated with painkillers and everything like that. So all four car doors were open on the driveway. I'm in one side, my daughter's on the other. We're coaxing. The people that live like 10 doors down from me had an emergency response. The fire trucks were there, the ambulances were there. So I guess that got all, fixed. And the fire truck had to do a turnaround in the cul-de-sac right in front of my driveway. Well, they saw us struggling. They could tell something was wrong. And the three guys in that fire truck stopped the truck, got out, and came to help. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, because I'd probably still be there trying to get my dog out of the back seat of the car because there was no lifting this 95-pound dog. So I just wanted to give a shout out, because the firemen and policemen are really important parts of our community, and I was the beneficiary of them being there at the right place at the right time. So thank you to them very much.
Thank you, and we'll make sure we pass that along to the fire board and fire chief and everything too.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Catherine Mazzolini. I live at 1205 Lisle Place. I have come to talk about the two special use permits that were unanimously voted against at the zoning meeting. And what has been conveyed to me is that there are 4 criteria that anybody with a special use permit has to meet, and I'm about to tell you why they don't. As a neighbor, we are very concerned that This proposal leaves major questions unanswered about parking, fire safety, occupancy limits, and how the property will actually be managed on a day-to-day basis. The applicants say that they rely on periodic visits and camera but allowing up to a 20 short-term guests in an Airbnb-style operation in the middle of a residential area creates a real concern about noise, traffic, safety, disruption that have not been addressed adequately. This proposal would bring constant turnover of short-term guests into what is supposed to be a stable neighborhood, and that directly impacts the quiet enjoyment of nearby homes through increased traffic, noise, trash, and late-night activity. While the applicant claims that the project will improve property values, they provide no actual evidence to support that claim, and many homeowners would understandably be concerned about living next to a high occupancy Airbnb-style rental. The applicant repeatedly states that the area is becoming more residential, which is exactly why introducing transient short-term lodging feels out of place and inconsistent with the direction of the neighborhood. Approving this proposal could also open the door to more Airbnb-style conversions nearby, gradually changing the character of the area from a residential community into a corridor or short-term rentals. Lisle doesn't allow short-term rental in any of its residential area. And I understand that this is a commercial area, but as the person who owns the building and the neighbors, we see this as residential. The one side of the street is all residential, the other side is business. We have families that we're raising here. There are townhouses that don't allow short-term rental right on that block. It just seems inconsistent with the trajectory of that neighborhood to allow this to continue. And then we're concerned that the proposal being considered before several important issues have been finalized, including parking plans, waste handling, occupancy management, and the correction of existing fire safety deficiencies. The property already has unpermitted exterior lighting that the staff identified as non-compliant, which raises additional concerns about whether the operation will consistently follow village regulations going forward. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment right now?
Hello, this is Rahul Visal. This is regarding the same proposal she was talking about. So all the thanks for the village board and for the public hearing. We got all the inputs from the people, especially from our neighbors. We don't want to do anything which they don't like. That's the street they are living in. So we have two permits right now, one for the lodging, which is the short-term rental, and one for the converting into residential use for a duplex, for a two-story building. So we would like to take the Airbnb out and only request for the residential use for a rental use for that building. So before it goes into that conversation, I just wanted to put that out there. Based on the requirements and inputs, I have submitted all the parking requirements, any other supporting documents for the permits, any other supporting documents for the presentation of the permit, whatever they require. That's all already submitted to Ms. Karen King. She has all the updated plans, which are based on residential use of the code. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. Items listed as part of the consent agenda are considered routine in nature and will be voted on together as a group unless a member of the village board requests to be considered separately. Tonight's consent agenda also includes the June 15th regular village board and committee of the whole meeting minutes, the closed session meeting minutes of April 6th, as well as the ratification of the July 6th invoice list, the July 20th invoice list, and the June 2026 treasurer's report. So if there's a request to amend any of those or discuss an invoice item, please ask for the item to be removed. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Items A and B, please.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. With that, so everyone knows exactly what we're voting on and talking about, I'm going to ask Village Manager Cook to give an overview of all consent agenda items, and then we'll vote on them in parts and pieces.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, members of the Village Board. Items A and B were removed from the consent agenda. Those items are the approval of the regular Village Board meeting minutes for June 15th, 2026, as well as the item B, approving the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes for that same date of June 15th, 2026. Remaining on the consent agenda for this evening is item C, which approves the executive session meeting minutes for April 6th, 2026. Item D, which ratifies the approved July 6th, 2026 invoice list in the amount of $962,185.41. Item E approves the invoice list for July 20th, 2026 in the amount of $423,554.29. Item F acknowledges the monthly treasurer's report for June 2026. The next three items, items G, H, and I, are special event permit applications that were recommended for approval by the Public Art and Special Events Advisory Committee at their July 14th meeting. And that item G is the approval of a special event permit application to Science of Spirituality for their Veggie Fest event held at Donata South Park on Saturday and Sunday, August 8th and 9th from 11 to 8 p.m. Item H, which approves a special event permit application for the Lisle Heritage Society's event Depot Days, which is held from 12 to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, September 19th and 20th at Lisle Station Park. Item I approves a special event permit application for the annual Aviva Anniversary Block Party, which is scheduled for Friday, September 11th and Saturday, September 12th. The festivities are planned to start at 5 p.m. on Friday and 1 p.m. on Saturday, both concluding at midnight. Item J approves a resolution authorizing execution of the First Amendment to the license agreement for the July 3rd fireworks display with the Lisle Park District. The village conducts its fireworks show each year at the Lisle Park District's community park through a license agreement with the Park District. As weather caused the fireworks show on July 3rd to be postponed, the village did work with the Park District to identify a makeup date for the show, which is now scheduled to coincide with the last concert of the park's summer entertainment series on Wednesday, July 29th. Approval of this resolution amends the original license agreement to adjust the dates accordingly. Item K approves the resolution approving payment of the 26-27 annual membership dues for the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference in the amount of $22,837.14. Item L approves a resolution authorizing a temporary use permit for a circus to operate on the Benedictine University campus from August 27th through September 13th. The circus will conduct weekday shows at 7 p.m. and weekend shows at 11, 2, and 5 p.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m. In the event of inclement weather, the expiration date may be extended. Item M approves a resolution appointing the village manager as the village's authorized agent for the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Item N approves a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for professional engineering services for the lead service line replacement program in an amount not to exceed $77,103. This is an item that the village is actually pretty well positioned relative to other communities to address the presence of lead service lines, as our inventory identifies only 24 lead or galvanized water service lines in town. The state is requiring that each municipality replace all of these services that they have in town prior to the end of 2037. This contract will provide for the design services to eliminate all 24 service lines that are required to be replaced. Item O approves a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a contract for sodding services in an amount not to exceed $48,500. This item, Public Works published an invitation to bid, received 4 bids, with Landworks Limited of Homer Glen being the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The bid includes 3 option renewal years at the village's discretion. And then lastly, Item P, approves a resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a contract with Utility Transport Service Incorporated for debris and materials hauling in an amount not to exceed $37,775. These services were also bid earlier in the year. However, there was only one responsive and responsible bidder, Utility Transport Service Incorporated of Markham, Illinois. This company previously provided service to the village along with several other municipalities, confirming their capacity to perform the required services. That concludes the presentation of the consent agenda, and staff recommends village board approval of these items C through P as presented and A through B as discussed, I suppose.
Great, thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve items C through P?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any public comment on this item? Any village board discussion? Seeing none, Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call the roll.
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
And C through P pass. That brings us back up to A and B. Is there a motion to approve item A on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
There's motion and second. Any comment on the minutes? Any village board discussion? Okay. Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call roll.
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Abstain.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
And minutes are approved. And then lastly, is there a motion to approve item B?
So moved.
Second.
There's motion and second. Any public comment? Any village board discussion? Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call roll.
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Abstain.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
And those minutes are passed as well. That'll bring us into the regular agenda. First up is an ordinance approving special use permits for household living, duplex, and lodging located at 1203 Lisle Place. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance? Yes, that's a good, go ahead.
I have a logistical question perhaps for you. So now that there's been what seems to be a substantial change in what's being requested, do we still go forward?
I was gonna ask to get into the discussion, and then as we present, ask if there's any opportunity for that change that was brought up during public comment. That makes sense? Okay. So, and this was a discussion once before, because I know that we have a denial recommendation. This is written in the affirmative, so it's important to understand that saying yes approves it, saying no denies it. Making the motion does not preclude you from voting in either direction, correct? Okay, that's come up before. I just wanted to double check.
Okay, well, in that case, so moved.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Would Director Smetana please provide an overview of this item, and if you caught exactly what the change discussion was?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, village board members. Approval of the ordinance would allow the applicant to remodel an existing vacant two-story building to include 2 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom units. Those units would be used for both long-term and short-term rentals. The Planning and Zoning Commission conducted public hearings for the special use permit requests on May 20th and June 17th. Objectors were present at both meetings, and a petition signed by neighbors has been submitted into the public hearing record. At the closure of the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend denial of both special use permits by a vote of 6-0. This evening, for village board consideration, staff has prepared an ordinance in the affirmative with conditions of approval. To reverse a recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the village board would have to have a favorable vote of 2/3 of the trustees holding office. Now, the applicant, during the public comment, stated that I believe that they want to withdraw the special use permit that would allow for the short-term rental use. This village board could remand the matter back to Planning and Zoning Commission to further discuss the remaining special use permit for the duplex. Understand that that special use permit for the duplex would still allow for rentals, but those rentals would have to be 30 days or more. Another option would be the village board could give staff direction to come back at the next board meeting with a revised ordinance. One ordinance would be recommending approval of the duplex, and then we would have a separate ordinance recommending denial of the lodging special use permit.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, any public comment to begin? We've already heard a little bit about the project. Board discussion. Anybody want to kick it off?
Well, my initial reaction would be that I would like to see it remanded back to planning and zoning. It is a significant departure than what we reviewed, and that would perhaps give the applicant more time to work with our department on seeing if they can come up with a solution that works for both the residents and for the applicants.
Yep. Others?
Yeah, I would agree with Trustee Sima that because we have this change in the plan here tonight, I think that it would be best to remand it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission and let them look at the proposal again, so.
Okay. You guys have thoughts on that?
Same as them.
Nothing further to add.
I will ask one question, Director Smetana. In the objection side, were people largely focused just on the short-term use, or any type of rental use was considered detrimental to the neighboring area?
I would say that objectors were primarily focused on the short-term rental aspect of the proposal.
Okay.
The property is in the B3B zoning district. Residential uses, including townhouses, duplexes, and single-family homes, are authorized special use permit in that district, and those residential uses do exist on Lisle Place.
Okay. So, do we need, yeah. All right. Start with withdraw, and then, or do we need to withdraw the original motion to remand this?
I think you could just remand it.
Okay, cool. Is there a motion to remand this item back to Planning and Zoning Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on remand? All right, Deputy Clerk Arnold, will you please call a roll?
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Aye.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
Okay, then we will remand this item back to Planning and Zoning to allow a specific conversation just around long-term rental. So, thank you. Next up is item B, an ordinance calling for a public hearing and a joint review board meeting to consider the approval of amendment number 1 to the eligibility report and development plan and project dated June 10th, 2026 in relation to approving a 12-year term extension and an amended budget for the Village of Lisle Downtown Redevelopment Project Area, Tax Increment Financing District Number 3. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. Would Deputy Manager Cook please provide an overview of this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The ordinance that's presented this evening is related to House Bill 1441, which passed out of the General Assembly and was sent for the governor's signature on June 26th. This legislation includes the statutory authorization to extend the term of the downtown TIF district by 12 years. While the bill hasn't been signed at this point, the ordinance presented tonight is a required step in the process, on the local process, to proceed with a major amendment to the downtown TIF. The ordinance calls for a public hearing before this village board on September 21st of this year and sets a joint review board meeting to consider the major amendment on August 17th, 2026. Attorney Jerusic's schedule then contemplates final board action on October 5th, assuming things go in an expedited fashion. A copy of amendment number 1 to the TIF plan for the TIF district have been on file with the village at the office of the village clerk and the Development Services Department, and have also been made available during regular village business hours since Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. A copy was also made available on the village's website. Now, the governor does have 60 days to sign the bill, which is on or about August 25th of this year, prior to the public hearing that this ordinance would set in September. Passage of this ordinance sets in motion the JRB and public hearing process to review the major amendment to the downtown TIF district and keep things moving along on schedule. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Attorney Jerusick, do you have anything you want to add?
I do not have anything to add.
All right, thank you very much. Any public comment on this item? right, board discussion. Any thoughts?
We've discussed this before. I think we're all aware.
Cool. Sounds good. With that, Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call roll.
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Aye.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
And motion passes. Last on the regular agenda is an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2026-2027 compensation and staffing plan and authorizing future amendments thereto. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Would Manager Cook please provide an overview of this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This item amends the fiscal year 26-27 compensation and staffing plan to eliminate the HR generalist position and create the internal services manager position. This is part of an ongoing staff transition effort that is currently underway. The newly created position provides for several day-to-day HR functions, benefits administration, payroll, participation and risk management, and added responsibility over IT coordination and oversight. As we continue to transition through various staff positions, we anticipate the need to make continued additional adjustments going forward, whether that's to consolidate, add, eliminate, retitle, or reclassify positions. And to this end, the ordinance presented also provides restricted authority to make future administrative amendments to the plan in recognition of the ongoing staff transitions. Staff is requesting the board approve the ordinance as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any public comment on this item? Any board discussion? Okay, seeing none, Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call the roll.
Trustee Sima?
So moved.
Trustee-
Sorry, aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Aye.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
And motion passes. Sometimes like the habit, I get it, yeah. All right, that'll bring us to officials and staff reports. I'll start off with, during consent agenda, we did pass the special event permit and the changes that we will have our fireworks show on July 29th. I just really wanted to start pushing that message out more, make sure people are aware. It'll be after the finale of the summer concert series, so hopefully we'll have a nice crowd there already who would be going to the concert, as well as bringing more people in for the concert and for the fireworks, so should be a very good time. And then I'll piggyback a little bit on what Ms. Rail said on the IAW open house. There was just a lot of angst in the room. It was a lot of people telling their stories of how their ridiculously high water bill is impacting their life and the changes they made. But I think the most striking to me too was there was a woman who, when she runs her water to make it hot, she captures the cold water into a bin and puts it aside so she can use that for her tea, because it's like letting gold run down the sink. So it's something we're aware is a huge problem. We do understand it, and while we're going to do this on two fronts, we'll talk a little bit in committee of the whole about some work towards specifically helping our own customers who are on IAW, as well as fighting the rate hike at the same time. The mayor of Bolingbrook and the mayor of Homer Glen also spoke there very passionately, and we should have a good alliance between a lot of the communities moving forward. With that, I will ask if any trustees have a report to offer. Seeing none. Any staff reports?
Just a few items, Mayor. One, also to talk about fireworks. It's been a while since July 3rd, but I'd be remiss not to recognize and thank the whole team for their efforts during what proved to be an ever-evolving weather situation that day. From the Park District to the Fire District to our Police Department, Public Works, Communications, events staff, the whole team, their collective efforts really came together and preserved much of the festivities that day, although Mother Nature, of course, had a different idea for the fireworks display itself. I also want to thank the public for their responsiveness and orderly evacuation of the event site that evening, as I think that went quite well given the circumstance. In the storm's wake, an extra kudos to our Public Works staff for providing yet another special branch pickup, which seems to be the theme of this summer, unfortunately. We'll try this again next Wednesday, tacking the fireworks display onto the last of the Lisle Park District's summer entertainment series following the Billy Elton concert scheduled from 7 to 9. My second one is for anyone who's following closely, tonight's meeting usually does have the fourth quarter treasurer's report. As we're transitioning staff in the finance department among elsewhere, we did have a combination of factors that impeded production of that fourth quarter report through our OpenGov software vendor, including technical functions as well as some outstanding depreciation values and so forth. We're currently working with our auditors on the annual comprehensive financial report, which also gives the snapshot of the village's finances at the end of the fiscal year or the fourth quarter, for example. That's at a higher standard. That's at the standard of the audit. So once we realign staffing, I anticipate that the village will be able to return to the practice of issuing those quarterly reports. But for the moment, we will wait for the audit to come out to finalize that fourth quarter report. And then last, just a reminder to save the date for National Night Out, which will be held the day after our next board meeting on Tuesday, August 4th. From 5 to 8 p.m. at the police station. For anyone who hasn't attended, it's a great family night out that the kids love. Has a touch-a-truck event, food, tours of the PD. Really exciting thing, so keep it on the calendar and hope to see you there. That concludes my report tonight.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Deputy Clerk Arnold, please call roll.
Trustee Olson?
Aye.
Trustee Grau?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Sima?
Aye.
We are adjourned. We'll reconvene for a committee of the whole in just a few minutes. Thanks.